Hi everyone, namaste, and welcome to your yin practice. As some of you know, I love teaching various different styles of practices, and this is a short series for you to have an introduction to yin style of practice and to slow down and find your body and find some space in your breath. So take a few moments to find a seated pose and close your eyes and settle into your breathing pattern. Sense the breath in and out. And for today's class, we work with the meridian pair of the kidneys and the urinary bladder, the foundation of the yin-yang balance for all the other organs. And from here, open the eyes, bring the soles of the feet to touch. Let the knees fall out to the sides and place the hands on the feet. Bend your elbows, bring your chest towards the feet. Release the back of your neck. I didn't have my props here with me. However, if you have a block or a bolster, you can use it to place the forehead on the block or the bolster. In this pose, we aim to stretch through the adductor muscles, the inner thighs. The name of the pose is called butterfly pose, and you'll find that some postures have different names. So in some books it's cobbler's pose, Baddha Konasana, butterfly pose. The style of yin yoga is more to slow down your system, slow down your breathing, and find stillness in the posture, in the body, which then lends to stillness in the breath, which then lends to stillness in the mind. The meridians are energy channels, quite similar to the nadis in yoga philosophy. The meridians is a concept in Chinese medicine. Whether meridians or nadis, they both refer to energy channels that crisscross through the body, and they carry prana or chi through them. For this practice, this class, we focus on the kidney meridian and the urinary bladder meridian. The kidney meridian flows up the interior and center of the body, whereas the urinary bladder meridian flows down the entire back of the body. And the kidney organ opens into the bladder. If you're new and not very familiar with the yin practice, you can expect slow, long holding of postures, anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes in each pose. Remember, you're not stuck, or don't suffer in silence. If some posture or if an area of the body feels uncomfortable, feel free to adjust and move. Let the breath be deep and slow and mindful. And bring yourself out of the posture now. Close the knees together, separate the feet, relax the hands to the back, and let both knees fall to the left side in a windshield viper pose. Bring the knees to the center and swap sides, knees to the other side. This is a nice counter to the previous posture. Bring the knees back to center and stretch. Come into an all-fours position, hands and knees. We'll move into melting heart pose, also known as Anahata Asana or extended puppy pose. Stretch your arms out to the front. Align your knees underneath the hips and rest the forehead on the mat or the chin on the mat. Now for some people this pose is quite intense, especially on the shoulders, in which case you can take a couple of options here. Either your arms are outstretched to the front, or you can fold one forearm and place the forehead on that forearm. And you can choose and swap between arms. Be mindful of the knees. If your knees are uncomfortable, roll up a blanket or roll up the mat to pad the knees. And just as the name suggests, it's melting heart pose, so allow your heart to soften towards the mat or the floor. As another variation in the arms, you could also choose to bend your elbows and bring the palms to touch overhead. So there's a couple of options, and before settling into the pose, choose the option that you feel most comfortable in. The idea of the yin styled practice is to find a suitable, comfortable position and a placement for the arms, the legs. If you need the props, we use the props. So we're not exerting a lot of effort to hold ourselves tight and tense. The idea is to passively relax into the posture. The pear, kidneys, and urinary bladder serve as the storehouse of our vital energy, and they really need to remain balanced in order for all the other organs to function properly. And it is precisely due to this that I have started this series with the pair of the kidney and the urinary bladder. Once again, be mindful of the breath. And from here, gradually bring yourself out of the pose. Reach back into a child's position, Balasana, and rest. So apart from the counter postures, we also have poses in which we just sit and observe the rebound effect of the previous pose. And bring yourself out of the posture. Stretch the legs to the mat in front. And we'll take saddle pose, also called Supta Virasana. Bend your left knee and the heel on the outside of the hip. The toes could curl in. For some of you, you may prefer to have the toes facing to the side. You can choose. And you can either stay with half saddle pose if your knees are uncomfortable, or full saddle pose. Bend the other knee as well, and you're sitting in between your heels. For a lot of people, this is uncomfortable on the knees, in which case you reach back and prop your entire back from the hips and sacrum upwards with the bolster, perhaps even 2 blocks underneath that bolster, and you stay there. Relax the head and neck on that bolster and breathe. Otherwise, you can reach all the way down, just like I have here. And you can have your palms resting on the belly or to the sides, or reaching up and over, grabbing onto opposite elbows, or relaxing the arms up and over the head. As we surrender into this posture, we also surrender into the sensations that may arise. And because yin styled practice is a slow and steady practice, we have the excellent opportunity to acknowledge all that arises within us. We have the time, and we allow ourselves that time to fully absorb our emotions without swiftly moving from one pose to another, almost ignoring anything that arises. And the longer we hold a pose, the longer we practice, the more we notice that our feelings change, and our feelings are varied in nature. Sometimes we feel agitation in 1 minute, and the next minute we feel almost a sense of elation. So all we have to do here is track these passing states of these fleeting moments of emotions that arise and pass, and then arise again. A different emotion perhaps arises and passes, and we observe the nature of impermanence. And I guess we can, through this practice of observation, we can hope for more resilience, more emotional flexibility. Now bring your hands towards your feet and use the elbows to lift yourself out of the posture. Undo the legs out to the front. Relax the arms to the back. And take a few moments here to observe anything that arises after you've moved out of the pose. And shift the weight off the hands. We'll take half butterfly pose. Bend your left knee. Bring the sole of the foot to touch the right inner thigh. Reach the hands to the front and fold the chest towards the thigh. If you have a bolster, you can rest your chest on the bolster. If you have a block, you could even rest your chest or your forehead on the block. Apart from the obvious intensity of the stretch, the challenge a yin styles practice presents is the fact that we're not doing anything. We're not moving swiftly from one pose to another in a dynamic manner. Instead, we're holding and surrendering to each posture. And for some, not doing something can be a bit of a challenge. So we embrace that challenge with an open mind and an open heart and breathe through it, knowing that this too shall pass, and very soon there will be the other side that is coming up. And knowing that we expose ourselves to both extremes of what life has to present. And bring yourself out of the posture now. And let's switch legs. Reach your arms forward, chest towards the thigh or a block or a bolster. Release the back of the neck. Notice if you have, at the very onset, notice if there's any tightness in the back of the leg or in the back of the body, or perhaps in the jaw. Can you relax and release any areas of tightness to allow for that flow of energy without any impediment? So in Chinese medicine, the emotions are simply an expression of our qi or prana, or our life force energy, our vital energy. And they're not considered good or bad. It is really less important which emotions arise or which emotions are present, but it's more about whether they're able to flow without any impediment. It's more important that there isn't any restriction or repression or any blockage. Every prolonged disturbance, every prolonged disturbed emotion affects the health of our meridians, our energy channels, and then has a trickle-down effect on the health of our organs. So just like in our traditional practice, the emphasis in yin yoga is very much on the internal organs. The stretch element is very much associated with the health of the organ, and therein also the energetic quality and the emotional quality, not just the physical organ health. And bring yourself out of the forward bend. Stretch the right leg out to the mat in front. And we'll reach the arms to the back, bend your knees. We'll take windshield viper pose again. Send both knees to the left side. And this is a counter pose, so we were initially in external rotation. Now we're moving into internal rotation on one side, external rotation on the other. Swap sides. And bring the knees to the center, straighten the legs to the mat in front. We'll take a pose called caterpillar pose. Breathe in. And breathe out, reach the arms forward with the legs together. The chest reach towards the thigh, or rest the chest on a bolster or a blanket. Forehead could rest on a block or the bolster. When the kidneys are out of balance, the main emotional flavor is fear. We may tend to hold on to things or people with a marked sense of fear of letting go, or just an overall lack of trust, both in ourselves and in others. And sometimes this kidney chi imbalance is associated with all kinds of fears: fear of heights, perhaps fear of water, perhaps fear of commitment to people, new places, death. And while sometimes these fears are common to us all and sometimes even reasonable, I think it's helpful to know when we are consumed by a persistent presence of fear. And when we do, we tax our energy relative to the kidney organ. And then this affects our chi, and it affects the organ, the functioning of the organ, which then in turn we feel more fearful easily. It works both ways. Conversely, when our kidney chi is in balance, we tend to experience an emotional capacity to be open, to be gentle, and to access our inner wisdom. And this in turn helps us, or may help us, to overcome our feelings of fear or lack of trust, perhaps. And bring yourself out of this pose. Reach your arms out to the back. Take a moment here. And we'll manage ourselves into Shavasana. Bring yourself to lie onto your back. And as always, if you wish to take a really prolonged, extended Shavasana by yourself, you can stop this video here and rest as much as you need to. Otherwise, you can close with us, allow the body to rest, relax, and spend the next few moments in your silent, conscious relaxation called Shavasana. And now bring awareness to the body. Move the fingers, the wrists, the toes, the ankles. Close the legs together, reach the arms up, give yourself a good stretch. Release the hands, bend the knees, roll to one side, and manage your way up into a comfortable seated posture. Take a few moments to just absorb and feel the peace within, a sense of spaciousness and slowness. Bring your palms to touch, bow your head, always in gratitude of the body and its capabilities. Blink the eyes open and release the hands to the sides. Thank you for practicing with me, everyone. Have a good rest of your day or evening. See you on the next one. Bye.